Good evening. I'll call the meeting of the Board of Selectmen, November 26, 2024, to order at 6:30 p.m. Secretary's report is our first thing on the agenda for November 12th minutes and special meeting of 11:15. So we can address November 12th first. Any comments or corrections?
Minor, it's in item 4. My last name has 2 L's. Little typo.
I'm good. I'll make a motion to accept them.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. So Tanner Steves had reached out and I
Yes.
sent that to Joy.
Correction.
Do you have that correction, the way he sent it? Just for the
Saying the
meeting?
Deep River Land Trust holds the deed, the town is the owner. I think that's, I'm gonna triple check it before I publish the minutes, but that's what I believe.
Okay, and that was referencing the conservation easement when Tanner spoke to the group.
Right,
Right.
it says that the trust owns the property.
And it's the
That's
town
the
of Deep
correction.
River owns the property.
Correct.
Right, okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, so with those 2 corrections, can I have a motion to accept?
I move that we accept the minutes from the October 22nd Board of Selectmen meeting.
Okay, all in favor, or
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. And special meeting minutes from 11:15:24.
I did not read the special meeting minutes. Somehow I missed that.
Well, they were pretty straightforward. It was just about the appointments, but we can table that till next time then, if you want to.
Did you get them? I mean, I'm okay
Well,
if you want to go ahead.
I'm good if
We're
we're
very
moving
straightforward
forward.
in the
That's
meeting.
right, for moving
I'm
forward
fine
and going
with
to a special meeting, I'll make a motion to
Okay,
accept them.
I'll second it.
okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
I'm abstaining because I didn't read them, that's all, technically.
Oh, okay,
I'm sorry.
so that would be Joy 2, one abstention, thank you. Audience of citizens, first one, public reminded state their name, address the board.
Richard Knight, American Legion. I'm here to let you know officially, on the 11th day of the 11th month, at 11th hour, the American Legion always holds a Veterans Day ceremony at the Green. Okay? Please don't expect any telephone calls. This is on record now. So, also, if you're in office next year, I'm inviting you to come to the American Legion Arts and Essay Contest at the Deep River Elementary School. It's at 1:30, and I want you to see what the youth in this community. This year, the American Legion passed out $495 in cash award prizes to the kids for arts and essay. And the essay this year was on Silent Wings, which is the CG-4 glider that was built at the Silgot plant. And they used to truck them down. It's amazing what these kids learn, you know. Also, the flags along Main Street that come down. A big thank you to Dave Bifford and George Atwood, especially George with that car carrier, that flatbed. What's usually a 2.5-hour job took us 50 minutes. I think there were only like 3 or 4 poles that we could not reach with his car carrier, his flatbed and stuff. There are 6 wooden poles that we're going to be replacing next year. 2 of the aluminum poles were damaged, and we're going to have to replace about 12 flags. But we did get the Legion got a donation, and that's going to cover about half of the extra poles and the flags. The American Legion will chip in for the rest, so that'll be no thing for the town. As I reported last spring, the Veterans Green is, completely done. There's no reason for the committee, like you said at the last meeting, the committee has been dissolved. I'm just staying on as the contact person for, there's 1 brick that's got to get put in, and there's 1 name that's misspelled. Come springtime, I'll get that there replaced. I know the lady's been on the telephone quite a bit with you, Carol, and with Tina. She's even called her adjutant. And, it will get done.
Okay, thank you.
Last but not least, Region 4 owns 9 acres on Falls Landing Road. They had it up for sale 2 years ago, and then the board got in some kind of a tizzy, and the buyer backed out. It's 9 acres of worthless property to Region 4. The Echo Angus says he don't give a damn if they give the property away. Just get it on the tax rolls. You know, it's a worthless piece of property to Region 4. They can't use it for anything. As you turn out to Falls Landing Road and you're going down towards the end, it's the first 9 acres on the left-hand side. I mean, let's get it on the tax rolls,
Okay, thank you.
okay?
So the school ceremony, that's always on Veterans
That's
Day as well?
1:30 in the afternoon, yeah. It's
That's
always on
Veterans Day.
November 11th, unless it's like last year, November 11th was on a Saturday. So, and this year, the Memorial Day Parade, I understand, should be pretty big, because I think we're having both the high school and the junior high school bands, so usually when we get them, we get a lot more people. I mean, there's, 500 kids alone just between the two schools, so, and then the parents and stuff, so this year, you know, it should really be big. Let's just hope we have nice weather. Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Rich, you had mentioned that you did a special thing at the high school. Is that something you do every year? That we should think
No,
about going to?
that was the first year we did it. The veterans from Chester, Essex, and Deep River, the Friday before Veterans Day, they gave us a luncheon up there, and then we were invited to go into the auditorium and speak and give our opinions of what we did in the service and stuff, and then there was a question and answer period. So, yeah, it was very, very nice, a lot of good questions, and yeah, they were very, very thankful. Yeah, it was very, very nice event.
Thank you.
Yeah. And then the lady Sasha, can't think of her last name, she took over for Don Peralt. This is her first year. She's doing an excellent job. Yeah.
All right, anyone else, audience assistants? All right, so we have a lot of appointments and reappointments this evening. Our first is an appointment of Tony Mingrove to the Parks and Rec Commission, term to expire 12/2026.
I wasn't able to get a hold of him. I reached him, left a voicemail, but we haven't connected yet. I
Okay.
didn't have a speaker.
Since you-
Okay, do we want to table? Okay. We'll table the appointment for Tony for our next meeting. Got that, Joy? Okay. All right, so the reappointments, we can just do by each commission. Maybe it would be easier. So Conservation and Inland Wetlands. I finally did get a hold of Emily, so we had put her down for a reappointment, and she would like to not be reappointed. So I will, let's remove her off of there. And then the other was, I heard from Tanner that George would like to move from alternate, move to a regular member. So those are the two changes. And then, are you okay with moving?
I'm good.
Okay.
Want a motion?
Yes.
Make a motion.
I make a motion that for Conservation and Inland's Wetland Commission, we reappoint Tanner Steves, his term to expire December 1st, 2027, and George Atwood, we move him from alternate to regular, term to expire December 1st, 2027.
Okay. And a second?
Second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, special constables, we have Howard Beardsley, James Budney, John Ely, all terms to expire 12/1/2025. Can I have a motion to reappoint those three?
I'll make a motion to reappoint them all.
Okay, second?
Seconded?
Any discussion? No? Okay, all in favor?
All?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, Design Advisory Board, we've got Dan Batt, who's currently serving as chair, term to expire 12/1/2026, and Jeff Hostetler, term to expire 12/1/2026.
So moved for reappointment?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, Economic Development Commission, we have Frank Santoro, term to expire 12/1/2027.
I'll make a motion.
Make a motion. And a
Seconded.
second. Okay, any discussion?
I'm going to abstain.
You can abstain. Okay. So I will make, the motion was made, it was seconded, so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So 2-1. 2, yeah, 2-1. Okay, Fire Commissioners, we've got Dave Berardis, agreed to another term, which is a 6-year term, term to expire 12/1/2030. I have a motion to reappoint Dave?
So moved?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
And Park and Rec, we have 2 members, reappointments. Kevin Crosby, term to expire 12/1/2027. Nicole DeRozier, term to expire 12/1/2027.
I'll make the motion.
Seconded?
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. You had added sustainability, because I'm reading your notes, but do we want to add? Do we have anyone to appoint there?
No, I think when we left that, you were
We
thinking
talked
of
about adding
checking
terms.
with,
A term limit.
to get them all,
Right, and I did talk
In
to the town
accordance.
clerk about that, and that was a little more involved, so I thought we'd do that the next time or
Fine,
something.
that's
Let's
good.
get on it. Okay. So we do have the dissolution of 2 committees, the Veterans Green Monument Committee, that Richard just spoke about, and the Firehouse Study Committee, the first one, put together in 2014. So we basically just have to make a motion and to take those kind of off the books. But we do want to thank, of course, our Veterans Green Committee, that was Rich Naggett, Ellen Richard, and Bill Burdick, and, or Eileen Richard, excuse me. And then the Firehouse Safety Committee had quite a few names: Tim Ballantyne, Paul Carlson, Tim Lee, Angus McDonald, Dave Oliveira, and Alan Parody. So we want to thank everyone for their service on those volunteer efforts. That was,
adding our thanks, I make a motion that we disband the Veterans Green Monument Committee and the Firehouse Study Committee, which had been formed in 2014.
I'll second it, and thank you for your service.
okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Great. So ARPA funds, final accounting notes. So we are going to talk a little more about this at the Board of Finance meeting to follow. But basically, there's some of the large projects that got approved. There's little amounts of money that remain in those, like $800 here, $1,300 there. Park and Rec, the Music Fest did not spend 35, it was closer to 32 and change, so there'll be a little coming back there. So we're looking at about $6,000 that we are going to reallocate, which we can do according to the auditors because it's such a small amount. So I just wanted to go on record for that, and then we can move our discussion to the Board of Finance meeting where we can approve what we're going to do with that money. Looks like we need to allot maybe another $1,000 for cover the pump, the water pump that we agreed to using ARPA money for, and then it would probably give us about $5,000 to figure out where to put that. But again,
Did you want discussion now, or you want to hold it till the next meeting?
do you want to discuss now, or just roll it over?
We'll
'Cause
roll it over to
we'll have to
Board of
discuss it
Finance.
with Board of Finance, the way we had set up the ARPA approvals anyway, so it'll have to go. Okay. So we'll table that for further discussion at Board of Finance meeting?
That means we have to stay in session?
Yes. Is that okay? Yeah. That was my plan. I hadn't run it by you guys in case you're all running out the door. It's like, no, we're still in session. Okay, solar array update. So I did reach out to Verigy. They're going to be online in December. Their hope is to be by December 1st. So then we get our first payments for the town on January 1st, 2025. They will directly pay the town. They're going to work with Anne Marie, Board of, the Finance Department, for direct deposits. So those will be coming in monthly.
Monthly.
And then if you want to have a further discussion about, you had an idea of where you wanted the money to go, so that's definitely something we should talk about. We can do that maybe when the first payment comes in, or at our next meeting if you want.
We should,
With Board of Finance, too.
Board of
right?
Finance.
Yes, if we do it at the next
Yeah.
meeting.
We can do it at the next meeting. Okay, number 9 on the agenda, formation of the Firehouse Building Committee. So the Board of Selectmen, there's been a lot of interest and we do appreciate it. So the Board of Selectmen is going to hold a special meeting and we have a list of names of people that have called to volunteer. I know each of the selectmen have a list of names that we think would be fitting on there, so that'll be done at a Board of Selectmen special meeting. We'll just concentrate on that.
Do you anticipate when you'll be setting that up? Before year's end, or how's it looking?
Well, I was thinking maybe right after the holiday, but I mean, not Thanksgiving, but first of the year. Or do you think that's too far away? What are you thinking?
I think movement on it would be good.
Well, what we've learned today when we talked to the USGA about their DA, that's why I didn't know, yes. But, okay, so we can do that in the next, after Thanksgiving.
It may
next
take
couple
more than
weeks.
one meeting even to sort it out.
That is true.
You
So
know.
after,
Let's see what Bud and Tommy come back with tonight, if they come back with anything.
yeah. So after Thanksgiving. But that will be at a special meeting, and again, thank you for, residents have been calling with interest or emailing, so all your names are going to be on a list that we'll figure out what that committee is actually going to look like too. Excuse me. We do have a special town meeting set up for Monday, the 2nd, December 2nd at 6:30. And things on that agenda are, what is on that agenda? Oh, the appointments, reappointments of some of the commission members that have to be voted on, like Planning and Zoning, Community Health Committee, and the Zoning Board of Appeals. And there's also a vote to pass a resolution to allow me final accounting for the roof project, so we can receive the money from the state for the elementary school roof that was completed a few years ago. It's very drawn out. But those are on the agenda for the 2nd. Did I miss anything
The
else?
sale of 2
Oh,
plots
Oh, yes,
at
yes,
the
that's the big
industrial
one, yes.
incubator plant.
Big thing, thank you. So please come if you can on Monday evening, 6:30, right upstairs here at Town Hall. Okay, Region 4 project updates. Do you have anything for us?
As
Is
I
it winded down?
reported 2 weeks ago, January 2nd, the children will be back at John Winthrop.
Yeah.
We had a very good meeting on Thursday night. Finances, right now, we are under budget.
Beautiful.
Which is
Yeah.
very exciting. There's still some small invoices coming in. They're supposed to start the testing, the final testing. There's several that have to be done, air and tape testing. And once that's done, they'll start the final cleaning, touch up. And the children are going to come in the 2nd, and the teachers are going to start the 15th or 16th, I believe, to start moving their stuff.
Of
back.
December.
December.
Okay. I was afraid if the kids start
Yeah.
the 2nd, the teachers don't come
Yeah.
in until the 15th.
No, the 15th of December.
It's the students' dream.
No, there's a couple half days where the teacher's gonna go and start setting up their classrooms, but it's been a long, drawn-out process, but everything looks good.
That is awesome. I
How much on
know,
the budget are we, Wayne?
Excuse me?
How much on the budget are we?
I don't wanna give an exact number, Richie, because it's still fluctuating. It's in a couple 100,000.
Oh, that's good.
that is good.
So,
And I think the security project has not started yet, but it was getting a state approval or something like that last time we talked to Dick about that. Okay, our next audience of citizen, number 12. Anyone on, I have somebody online. Would you like to address the board at all?
No, thank you.
Okay. And anyone here? Okay. So I won't take a motion to adjourn because we're going to continue our meeting.
Can we, these are, I don't know where to put these, Carol. They're follow-up notes, like any update on the trimming of the trees at Cedar Swamp, and things that come up in meetings that have been asked or come through emails. Is there any update you want to give on that? That's my chicken scratch here. Or we spoke on...
What's the update for Cedar Swamp? What are we looking for there? The wall?
No, this is the trimming of the overgrowth. This was Jen Phillips reaching out.
Oh, yeah, trimming, okay.
I think she's 3 or 4 times she's reached out on the trimming.
Okay. I'll have to follow up. That was on the list for the town. So the easement for access to,
You were going to check with the town attorney to find out if, with that work, bending the pipe going onto
we
John
don't
Landers.
need a easement,
No easement.
no. She didn't think that was worthy of putting it on the town record.
And that's all. This is a note to myself, maybe to talk about next, but I don't need it here.
Gotcha, okay. But yeah, we'll check into the trimming of the, okay,
Thank you. You want a motion?
okay, well.
Oh, no,
the
we're staying
motion
open.
is to stay open, so
So we will,
we just quietly go out into the sunset. We are going to just excuse ourselves and then join the Board of Finance, so we're not going to adjourn, but we're officially over for this meeting. Thank you.
For the people that are here, have a nice Thanksgiving.
Yes, happy
People online, I
Thanksgiving.
hope you have a nice Thanksgiving.
That's true. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Good evening, everyone. I call to order the November 2024 regular meeting of the Deep River Board of Finance. First item on our agenda is approval of the minutes of the October 22nd meeting.
So moved.
Anyone have any comments before we so move? I'm a bit uncomfortable and need for others to share. There is a, right under Tom, did you look at the minutes? There is a correction to the prior month. I'm not sure it is phrased correctly or the numbers are correct. I'm not sure the world's going to change if we don't get it right, but
So you want last month's minutes you're talking about?
yes,
October
October 22nd.
22nd.
It has a correction to September, and I do remember Tom making some degree of correction to it. The number seems too big, $11 million.
It says
To the capital, it's identified as the capital improvement account, which I do not think has $11 million in it, does it?
So it's what was the capital improvement fund amount as of September 23rd? That's the question.
Capital improvements?
It
Yes.
wasn't 11 million, was it?
It says 923 in the minutes.
The
No,
capital
beginning, it
improvements-
starts off, if you look at the minutes, it says a correction.
Yeah.
11,443, which I don't think is the right title or the right number. And I looked at the numbers aren't consistent with what was September.
No, you're talking about the-
Nor do I think that's the correct name of what you were attempting to correct.
Are you talking about in the general fund, the 2022 capital improvements borrow? Is that what you're,
Well,
because that,
you've given me too much thought. I am merely looking at the minutes from the meeting, which says you made a correction.
because the correct amount is actually, if we're looking at,
And again, I do not think the world, others did not come forward.
It would be on the tape, but
Yeah, it'll be on tape.
if it
I
needs
just
to
don't
be
want to
checked.
stop it on recording.
It starts out correction to last month's capital improvement fund. Correct balance of 9/23/24 was 11,443,634. I don't think that's correct. And I'm not sure what the reference is, but
The September's minutes said that the original amount was 1.425 million, and the balance as of 9/26 was 543,000.
that
So-
would be, that would probably
that
be.
seems about right. I don't know
That
what
would
the
be.
correction is.
So I wonder if there's an extra one in there. It shouldn't be 11 million, but 1 million.
You could
For the
have,
capital improvement funds? Well, that is good. Do you have capital improvement? Do you have it open there? Certainly open it. And assuming you could correct all that by Tom actually reading off what the capital improvement fund amount was, both in September and.
So in September, it's
it's about-
1,425, and October it should be 1,443,
Uh,
not 11,443.
It would be nice, but I don't think we have $11 million in our capital improvements fund.
762,868.33 would be the amount for 9/23. That would be in line with pretty much where we are.
Okay, I'll tell you what, here we do. Since you've got your numbers there, Tom, let's start off with let's do it at Tom's report. We'll call off each one of September, October, and November. How about that? We'll just do one sweeping cleanup, tidy up, would be a better phrase. All right. Jackie has started with I recommend we approve them. Anyone else have any discussion? All those in favor, please say Aye?
Aye.
All right, thank you. The next item on our agenda, is the elections of officers. It is a tradition on this board, and whether it's all boards or not, that we, in November, after new members are elected, we elect officers to our board. Would anyone like to put their name into consideration or recommend anyone to be nominated for positions?
Oh, I nominate Bud Beckermoth for chair.
Anyone wish to speak?
I nominate you as chair of the Board of Finance.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
And I nominate, we continue the same theme, and Carmella serve as deputy or vice, however. Now that, and I accept your nomination, and I am humbled as always by it, but I would like to share that I am getting weary, both in total, and the obligations of this position are adding to my weariness. So I would ask if any of you are interested in taking this position in the future, that you might contact me directly, and we would do our best to make sure, as the chairman needs to do things, you have the opportunity to participate in that. So we will leave that to your own discretion. So it's a pretty impressive title to have. Doors open with the title of Chairman of the Board of Finance. At least all of you have opened your door to me. So, all right, thank you, everyone. Audience of citizens, any business to come before the board? Hearing none. Tom, it is once again, we return to you.
I'm just trying to make sure that's correct. Remember, there was that amount of 217,000, and we found that was not correct.
Right,
So that's where the correction was made.
right.
Right. Okay.
You have solved the mystery, Tom, or you wish to just?
Yes. So it should be 762,868.33.
For as of September?
That would be as of September.
For the
Yes.
capital improvement fund?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Okay. And that's pretty much online as where we're going. And that was.
So let's say again, that was September. What would be October? Do you have that close?
October was 764,688.77.
Okay.
And that the difference between the two is pretty much interest that was accrued for the month, and for this particular month, 766,702.57. And again, there were no disbursements from that account for the last month. So the difference was interest that accrued from last month to this month. And that interest amount is $2,013.80. So that would be,
That is the borrowed funds, right?
yeah, the capital improvements borrow.
Got it.
So that should put us back on par for that.
All good. All right.
If we look at the general fund accounts, you'll see our general fund has $1,450,844. There was a wire transfer that was made yesterday of $1 million that went into that account to really cover some accounts payables, large account payables. One is to the school for $675,000. That's our monthly amount. Payroll. Also, from the election, we had the 2 weeks of early voting, and so we had a lot of people working at the polls from both parties, and then on election day too. So that came into effect. There were a lot of checks that were signed from people that actually worked the polls. So that's why that amount is kind of inflated. It'll go down pretty quick. I would like to bring just regarding rates, because you'll see here the rate was 5% with Liberty Bank. That's been lowered to 4.5% because of the Federal Reserve dropping rates by 50 basis points. Liberty Bank followed by dropping their rate by 50 basis points. Guilford Savings actually dropped it by 75 basis points. So on September 20th, they had dropped it from 5 to 4.5%, and then on 11/8, they dropped it from 4.5 to 4.25%. I've spoken to both banks. I've spoken to Melissa Hurd from Liberty Bank, Heidi Samuelson from Guilford Savings Bank. I've asked Heidi if she thinks that Guilford might be able to match the Liberty Bank rate. But having said that, we're on the downward trend. The Federal Reserve is actually going to be meeting again in December, and probably those rates will drop again. And having said that, I'm looking into, I've been in contact with both these people probably on a week or every 2 weeks just to see where we are. They will let me know if they think the rates are going to go down when the Federal Reserve makes their move. In that case, I'm looking at possibly putting some monies into CDs for probably a shorter term. Liberty Bank did give me some rates on CDs, and they gave me a 3-month, 6-month, 9-month, and 12-month rate. Funny thing is that usually you extend the rates, extend the term, the rate goes up. In this particular case, their rates are going down because that's where they feel that the rates will be going. So they gave me a 3-month rate of 4.25%. With a yield of 4.33, 6-month 3.75, and 3.82. So I didn't really want to make a move now because we're getting higher than that right now. But if I know that they're going to be going down when the next Federal Reserve makes their move, then I'm thinking maybe if I could. If these rates are still in play, I'd try to put some money into shorter term CD for a little while. So I'll keep you posted on that, I guess. Let's see what else. Our balances in the general fund accounts, they're down 810,000, a little over 810,000 from last month. We're coming up with the calendar year end, and we're in decent shape based on what our balances are. We've just talked about the capital improvements borrow. Having said that there is about $658,297 left to be dispersed from that particular account. Our ARPA funds, American Rescue Plan account. There wasn't much movement over the last month. Last month we had $533,593 in that account, and this month $528,100. So there was a change of $5,490, almost $494 in the ARPA funds. I have signed quite a few checks, ARPA checks, and I know we were discussing that today, Carol, Bud, and I. So we'll probably see some movement in that. We've still got about $528,100 left to be dispersed, because originally that was $1,314,908. That's the original amount that we received, and right now that we've dispersed about $786,808. So there's still, as I said, there's still over like $528,000 to be dispersed, and I think they have until year end, providing if they have a contract, I think they're okay. Other than that, we try to recoup those funds. We try to pull them back if they don't spend those or have a contract.
We'll pull them back if they don't have a contract, but what is the deadline for spending, Carol? It's sometime next year. 2 years? 2 more years?
But don't they have to have signed contracts by the end of this year?
That's right.
Yeah, okay. Wire transfers, I made 2 wire transfers this month from 10/21 to 11/25. One, as I said, one was made yesterday for $1 million. I also made one on November 7th for $750,000. So we made a total of $1,750,000 in wire transfers that went from our Liberty Bank money market account to our Citizens Bank general fund, basically to cover accounts payables and whatever. Our education equalization grant monies, ECS monies, we've received 3 installments for the next fiscal year. That's from 6/30/2025. I'm sorry, July 1st, 2024 to 6/30/2025. We did receive our first installment, which was a quarter of the amount that has been allocated for the year. The year amount is $1,676,105. So we did receive on October 31st a quarter of that, or $419,026.25. And we'll receive the second installment at the end of January for the same amount. And then the final installment will be due on April 30th, and that will be half of the monies, or $838,052.50. Let's see. Upcoming bond issue payments, the usual, the sewer construction bond, that is actually due on, let's see, it's coming up on 11/30. After we make that payment, there'll be 17 payments left on that bond issue. And so right now it's down to, after we make the payment on 11/30, that balance will be $283,282. That was from an original amount of $3,375,000 that was taken out October 30th, 2006 for 20 years. And that's going to mature on April 30th, 2026. The principal and interest payments monthly are $16,914.76. So if we do that on an annual basis, we pay almost $203,000 a year on that particular bond issue. The other one is the Kirtland River Street Sewer Project. That one is due on December 17th. And that's a principal and interest payment of $118,379.60. After we make that payment, the balance was originally for $2,910,000, and after we make that payment on December 17th, the balance will be down to $2,541,529. That's we've made 9 payments out of 40, so we'll have 31 payments left on that particular bond issue. So those are the only 2 that are coming up. We do have 6 bond issues, but those are the only 2 where payments are due in the next month. And that's about it.
Questions for Tom? Observations?
Good job, Tom.
All right, I'm going to have Carol take over, but Tom sort of set up. Carol, I assume you will, do you wish to, somewhere in your conversation, talk about ARPA, or I actually have it on agenda passing it to Anne Marie, but up to you. All pressure's on you.
Well, Tom's right. So when we got together today, we kind of talked about ARPA. So Anne Marie did a great handout. If you look at the spreadsheet she did with the color, everybody have that one?
She sent that to all of us.
She sent it. It was one of the first pages in the handout. Okay. So right now, it looks like of all the allotted monies that were voted on at town meetings for, the DPW, they bought a blower. And it came in, we allocated $15,000, it came in at $12.25. So there remains $2,975. Park and Rec, budget was $35,000, it came in at $32,943. That was for the music festival. So we had taken some of that money back from the 3rd year that they weren't gonna have the festival, but there's still $2,057 remaining. And then Anne Marie found that we had actually $1,268 that never was allotted at all. So basically we have about $6,300 that we need to reallocate. And one of the things Anne Marie mentioned is the ARPA money that was approved to cover the water pump at $29,000. What did we approve for that?
We approved 28.
28, and it came in at 29. So we do need $1,000 there to cover the water pump. And that would leave us about $5,300 that I thought we could move, with your permission and with your vote, move to maybe town building repairs so that we can take care of the missing thresholds and some of the little odds and ends around here that need to be taken care of. So that was one of my ideas for that. But basically we have to decide what to do with that money tonight because right now we don't want to lose it, so we want to allocate it somewhere. Did we hear from the library? The library had some money left.
We did hear from the library. Unfortunately, the backup I was given wasn't complete. I just reached out to Susan about an hour ago, asking, she sent 2 of the same attachment bags. But it does appear that there was an effort made there to actually, spend all of that money.
The library currently still has, of their allotted, where are they on here? I saw it before, I'm sorry. The library has 4,538 left, but it looks like they do have plans to spend that by the end of the year. And Anne Marie is working closely with them to make sure everything gets signed, contracts get signed.
So Carol, if we decide on the leftover 6,300 to put it into building, do we need to have a contract for that piece of work?
We would have to kind of get a handyman in here quickly and
We-
identify the things
Yeah.
that we know for.
So we'd have to get a contract together in about 5 weeks.
Is
Yeah.
6,300 or 50?
It would be
We're using
53.
1,000 for
If
something.
we,
Yeah.
with your permission and your agreement, move that 1,000 in to cover the water pump.
Formal question. I am uncomfortable moving ARPA into a general fund account. Are you?
We wouldn't be moving it into a general fund account. We would be creating another project under ARPA. That would be the same name as that account, that town building repairs account.
So you're creating another account. All right, I'm uncomfortable identifying projects that were not discussed during the year. These were not.
That's true. They're just.
Just me. I mean, others can respond, but suddenly we are introducing new projects.
But if we don't, we lose the money.
Well, I think there's enough places that we put it, which we can send it over to your organization, put it in the what do we call it?
No.
Community fund.
Yeah.
We didn't like that, because it's a general, we go from town to town. That's why I was asking the first question.
It would still have to be under contract, where if the community health committee was a separate entity from us, and we could give them the money, let's say they were a nonprofit, all we would have to do is give them the money and we would be done with it.
Correct.
But they're still under the town umbrella, they would need to be under contract to spend that money.
Or you could give it to planning and zoning for a contract that they're in the process of doing.
They've got their money already, right? Or,
We
well, there is
allocated
some
money to them.
confusion on theirs, but then you've got somebody who's going to be contracted with them, right?
I think they're in the process of getting an RFP. I don't know. I don't know.
So I don't, and they're having a hard time in finding somebody to do that, so giving them more money does not have an appeal.
So, but if we were to take Carol's concept of fixing some of the things that need to get fixed here, if we named that a project,
I think that's what Anne Marie is
Could
saying,
we
she's
then
gonna
do
make
it?
each one of those a project.
but you're
Right, but he's
comfortable with
uncomfortable
that?
because we have. a
Well,
problem.
and Anne Marie's happy, tolerant of it, I guess I will be tolerant too.
And would all those projects have to be then bid out and put under contract before the end of this year to use that money?
We'd have to contract for them, but I don't think we'd have to bid with such a small amount of money, the 5,000.
We, the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Finance should have, following our normal way we operate, should have authority to move dollars around. Up to 20,000. All these projects will fit well within that.
I mean, it could go to something that already was approved, like the transfer station or something, but again, it doesn't, right now, it doesn't have a project attached to it, so if we
No, I'm just
just
wondering
throw it to
that
planning
we're
and zoning or throw it
we're
somewhere.
within whatever restrictions the government put on that money, that we're not doing something with it that's questionable, that we're following whatever protocol they put up for us to follow.
Right, and Anne Marie has talked to the auditors, and this was a small amount of money, so we do have, we are at liberty to move it to one of our new projects or whatever, so that we don't lose it.
Would that fix whatever needs to be fixed here, for the most part?
Well, again, it's just little things that we just didn't have the money to sort of do, and so I know the 2 thresholds right off, and there's, thresholds on that side of the building too, so it would make a little dent to those little projects.
In Tri-Town, if we don't fix the siding on the Tri-Town building and the door,
Yeah, and the
That
door,
place
the
is gonna
tri-town
collapse.
just broke the push bar, so they think the door has to be replaced, so maybe that's, but again, the town building account would cover all that, would cover Tri-Town as well as Town Hall. It's not called the Town Hall building, it's just Town Building Fund or whatever.
So you would be creating a new project called
Essentially-
Town Building Account?
Well, there'd be a new line item on here.
Yes.
So I would say, I would call it town building repair.
And you would want the Board of Finance, the Selectmen to recommend to the Board of Finance that they move whatever the dollar amount, 6,000 something, into this new account.
$5,300.
Okay. And you folk will have met, at Carmel's point, you will have met, you will have had signed contract or some sort of agreement that these will be spent by in 30 days?
It'll take work on our part, but I have no doubt we could do it.
Okay.
What do you think, Dwayne?
The work has to get done. And like Jackie said, the Tri-Town over there too. All these little things add up. So we keep kicking it down the road, kick the can down the road, and it's catching up to us. If we can do it and get the job done without causing any problems with the government, I think we should get them done.
All right.
Are there any identified OSHA things still outstanding, violations in the building that we need to?
Just I think things that have already been addressed and paid for at this point.
Maybe prevention. That door sounds like it would be a problem.
That just got brought to my attention a couple of
Yeah.
days ago. They did a temporary fix, but the locksmith said it's not going to hold like it, so. And that might eat up the whole, if we have to get a whole new door or something. I don't know.
Probably a
That
fire
might
door.
eat up, yeah.
Okay, so do we have recommendations from the selectmen? We're going to move, you gotta move $1,000 to the pump, right?
Yes.
And that leaves, I don't have,
5,300.
5,300.
how much, 5,300? We will move it to this new project called building repairs.
Town building repair.
Do we need to vote on it first? Yeah, so he's almost about to make the motion, so.
No, I'm just talking. No, you go.
So we would take the 6,300 leftover ARPA money and reallocate it $1,000 to cover the cost of the pump that ended up being $1,000 additional. And the 5,300 we would put into an account that Amory would make up, that would be town hall or town building repairs.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
All right, Board of Finance. Can I have, does anyone want to make a resolution to accept the proposals made by the selectmen? And then we can discuss it if you'd like.
I move we accept the proposals made by the selectmen.
All right.
And I second it.
Second it. Would anyone like to discuss it in more detail? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. All right, just done. Carol, the floor is still yours.
Okay, so then we need to move the 38,000 out of surplus. I'd like to take 38,000 out of surplus and put it back into the town hall building line. That we kind of to make that whole, because we spent 38,000 and the mold remediation in the basement out of that town hall building line, or town building line. Is that,
Are you done with ARPA?
we're done with ARPA.
So the 91,000 that's in red is gonna be spent?
Excellent, yes.
I just thought I
We
would
should
like
probably
to
spend
just.
a moment going over the others, just to give you
Okay, we
comfort.
can go over
Yes.
all the other ARPA. Do you want to go over ARPA?
Yeah, so
Because you did this nice table.
sure. The transfer station, I have been speaking with Eric. He's gonna take the point on making sure everything is ordered or under contract by then. He has, just some of the bins he needs to order alone are gonna eat up half of that amount. So he's pretty confident, and very well aware.
And the oil,
Yep, that's on his list. That and cameras are his main focus. The 56,000, I did get the final quotes from the various like installers and equipment providers from Adam, and we will comfortably spend that $56,000. Planning and zoning, as Catherine referred, they are in the process of reviewing bids, but they do have a plan in place if they don't receive any bids that they think are quite up to par. And that would be to essentially have our planning and zoning consultants, Tyke, take on the funds and then find a proper subcontractor. But it would allow us to get the funds out, and this is kind of our common practice. And it would kind of extend the timeline and allow them to find a group that is well qualified to do the job. The fire department has a plan in place to spend their remaining about $39,000 of capital primarily on SCBA, those apparatus. We already discussed the pump. The signage and tourism, we are working on writing up a proposal so that we can sign a contract with Jerry Roberts. And the library was already discussed as well.
So back to fire department. They have $45,049 left. And you said something about 39,000.
Where are you looking at 45?
River Fire Department, I see 45 remaining.
39,498.
Where do you have those figures though? Because these are her latest.
Oh, those are the latest,
Yeah.
okay, so I've got another one, all right. So we're good with that then?
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
I was gonna say, we just spent about $5,000 out of there. That's why you
Okay.
say that.
And can I take confidence that you have confidence Board of Finance does not have to come back during the next month? to address
Unless
these?
some of my information changes, I feel pretty good about where we're at. But people are people, as we've discussed, so if anything does change, I
That is
will
good, and that's
certainly
good.
sound the alarm quickly.
So do we, well, we've already passed everything. I'm just curious, should there be flexibility in that 5,300 so that it becomes more of a catch-all? Up to 5,300.
Do you mean to receive money that might not be spent in the other?
Yes, that's exactly. Or if there, something changes.
So put it over 5, you don't want it to just.
Oh, very good, very good, very good, very good, very good.
Then
Excellent.
it can't catch.
No, I was going less. I think you got it. You can go over if there is more. Okay.
My only concern with that is, when is the cutoff? So if, say, let's choose the fire department capital line, they realize on December 27th, oops, we aren't gonna spend $500 of this, who's gonna scramble to make sure we spend $500? And is that spend going to be a worthwhile spend?
The way I'm interpreting your concern is, it supports mine, that there should be some flexibility in that 5,300. If they don't
So we
spend
just
5,
go
or they do spend 5, you've got some.
But when are we gonna know that they're not gonna spend it?
Cut off.
Well, isn't there a drop dead date that they have to have their monies allocated?
12/31.
So by 12/31.
But then we can't turn around and find a way to spend
Just
that
spend it.
money on December 31st.
Oh, that, it would then, I see,
Yeah.
okay.
Well, we may have to give a little bit back.
It's always a possibility, and it happens a lot with these grants, quite frankly.
I continue to be lost. Why can't it just go into this less than exact number, 5,000, 6,000?
On December 31st, if I get a phone call from the fire department, it's like, we're not gonna spend $2,000,
We just went to our 5,000.
which would have to be encumbered in the next 5 hours.
Your premise is that we would not be able to spend
Spend
it
it.
even for our building stuff.
Well, maybe give them a cutoff of 12/15 so you can get the
That is
paperwork
an
and
option.
everything done.
I don't know. I know using the exact dollar figures is kosher. I'm not sure about using a flexible amount.
Gotcha. Well, then let's do the 5,300.
And we know
We feel
we're,
more comfortable
That's what it
adopting
stands right now, the 53. So if there became anything of big importance, we would have to call the Board of Finance back.
We would.
In holiday garb.
Santa hats required.
Christmas Eve.
That's right.
So when do you think the
What's
fire
all-
department will have their contract signed?
I will confirm that.
Okay.
I'm gonna let everyone know they need to get me signed pieces of paper by December 15th.
Remind me of your comfort with the library. You are satisfied the library will spend their $4,000 as of right now?
I am not 100% confident, only because I haven't seen the actual numbers themselves to confirm them. But I do know that an effort was made to do that, and an effort was made to give me the backup to show that they did that, just not all the backup quite made it to me at this point.
And that gave you comfort that they have taken the effort to get into contracts?
Yes.
Enter into contracts. Okay.
What was the 45,000 for the library? Do you remember?
I think it was painting, wasn't it?
45,000.
Painting
That was the
and,
original.
yes.
The majority of it
programs.
was a circulation
Circulation
desk,
desk.
and also some digital content and programming.
Because I guess my question is, don't they have to?
Floor and
I don't know that that was part of ARPA, I know we have that in our.
We had to
capital
paint
budget.
for the abatement for an OSHA,
okay.
because the paint is peeling.
So doesn't it have to be spent on what we allocated it for?
Yes, and everything they want to spend it on now is under that
Okay.
umbrella.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right. All good? All good? All right, Carol, you have the floor again, it's continues to be yours.
Okay, so I wanted to, the Board of Selectmen is going to talk about this, but basically we had talked about it prior, didn't have the number, and we are waiting to the November meeting. So we would like to move 38,000 out of surplus back into the town building line to make that whole, because we took out 38,000 to pay for the mold downstairs. We were holding off to see if any other remediation efforts would have taken place by then, but right now, we're at 38,000. Nothing else has happened in the basement, so
Do you expect more to take place?
I think there's going to be electrical, going to be dehumidifiers, and potentially talking about a new air conditioner system.
You are over in that line item, you have no ability to spend that line item anymore. So if we replace the 38, you pick up 38, right? My curiosity is, we can only touch a line once, then it has to go to the town. We had more coming in, I would waive, but
Well, I
you don't have
assume
any
it's have to go
flexibility
to
to
the
do
town
anything.
anyway, because it's over 20.
Yes.
That's-
Right.
So if we go to the town for the 38, then we can't go back to put any more in that line? is what
No, you
you're telling
could,
me?
we'd have to go to the town again.
Okay.
I was thinking we'd do it once, but you haven't got any dollars in that kind, so you need to
Right,
replenish.
we kind of wiped it out, and then we've paid for the painting at the library, for the OSHA, you know, like, a lot has come out of that line that wasn't necessarily budgeted, because we had to do it. We've had, seemed to be more furnace repairs at the library, you know, like, we've had a lot of calls, like, we had no heat here yesterday morning, so we had a call. We were all walking around in our winter coats. So, I mean, things happen, and that's the line that I've been using to.
So you want to transfer it now, so it's not sitting there empty, as opposed to waiting till something comes up and then having to get the money?
Exactly. And so that would go to a town meeting, maybe mid-December or something like that in the future. But they're not meeting at all in December now, so I'd like to get it approved now so that we can schedule a town meeting, move the money.
Do you think that's enough money for you to move over, or do we need any more?
Well, Anne Marie looked historically what came out of that line, and it looked like we're still kind of on track for what they've spent out of that line other years, if we can get the 38 back.
Did we move the money back into the highway department?
It's not reflected here, but I need to reclass some dollars out and into the projects that were voted on in the last town meeting.
Okay.
You should be okay.
They should be
You
fine.
should, with the
Yeah.
magic of accounting. It should be okay.
I know that we took it out, and I just want to make sure that.
No, they are definitely covered.
Good, thank you.
All right, Board of Finance, now our turn. The selectmen have recommended that we authorize moving 38,000, the 250, you want to take the exact dollar amount?
It is $38,250 on the invoice.
Okay. that we take that out of unassigned surplus. If you remember, we have unassigned surplus, and Anne Marie encourages us to think that we will be adding to what we currently have once the audit is done. So we should take comfort, at least that 38 is there. Anyone at the Board of Finance wish to make a recommendation, have a conversation?
They need to do it first. They gotta do it first, right?
Oh, they didn't do it? I thought they did it. Okay, sorry. Excellent.
Okay, can I have a motion to move $38,500?
$38,250.
Sure.
A motion?
From the general fund to the building. Building.
The building.
I second
Cover the
it.
bolt.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
Done, all right. Board of Finance is, do you wish to accept the recommendation of the selectmen and move to a town meeting, the request to move 38,250 in surplus into, return it to this town building line?
So moved.
So moved, I got a 1. Second. Anyone wish to discuss it in more detail?
You just said that Anne Marie thinks they're gonna be able to add back to that fund after the audit is done?
Yes, that is what I said, you captured it, Jack. That means that at the end, June 30, we did not spend all of our income or expense. That's what I meant by adding to it, so yes. All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, all right. Carol still remains with you?
I don't have any other notes, so I think that was pretty much all we were going to talk about. Is that about it?
I think so.
Anne Marie, do you wish to take it from here? I did have ARPA under you initially, but seems like we have covered that, so.
Sure. I believe you wanted an update on the accounting system, is that correct?
Correct.
Everything is moving along very smoothly. We are at the point where we're starting to check all of the figures that have been loaded into their test environments so far to ensure that it ties to our current financial information in our current system. So once, I sign off on all of that, they'll start actually loading things into what they call their production environment, which is, the actual software that we will be using as of January 1st. And they're kind of all over some of the more technical aspects, like making sure we can print checks appropriately, making sure we have the right equipment to do that, requesting a lot of information from me, test files. So it's a lot right now, and I think it will continue to be a lot through the month of January, but hopefully after that, it should be smooth sailing.
We will begin to look at the new budget through this new lens.
You will, yes. It's a much more powerful budgeting tool.
I'm intrigued by your phrase, they're interested in whether we have the equipment to write checks. Will the system actually generate a check?
It will. Well, our current one.
Our
Yes.
current one does well, I did not realize that. Okay.
Yeah, well, you have check stock, right? Like
Yes.
special check stock to print on, but yes, our system will spit out checks.
I did not realize that. I thought there was a separate system. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Now, do they do the loading, or do you folks sit there at nights and code?
No, they
Yeah.
do the loading. We'll do a little bit here and there to clean things up based on, they're not in the accounts every day. They don't see things the way we do. So once things are loaded and we kind of see how they function, we might tweak things here and there. But no, the majority of the data isn't even handled by our implementation team. It's handled by other ancillary data teams. So it's a significant undertaking.
When do you actually sign off? Do you have, I assume you have to have a signature?
Yes, it's milestones.
Yes.
So depending on, they call them modules. So for example, our general ledger module, that would be when I'd review our historical actuals, ensure that the budget has been loaded properly. So that's actually what they are emailing me, asking when are you going to get that done right now? And down the road, it will be signing off on vendor information and the details related to that, like their 1099 status, making sure addresses are accurate, things like that.
So there will be a day that it's all over with them and you. It becomes you. Okay. And there's no give you no grace period on the other side?
I think they do, to a degree. We have days, so technically we go live on January 1st, but we have days built in with them throughout the month of January where, you know, if we're running into issues or some things don't have to be done in advance of starting to use the system. For example, I won't be loading our 23-24 actuals until after the audit is complete because why risk having to change things after the fact. So we will still be in contact with them for a while, working through things.
So, cool. And just so people know how you're spending your days, how much time do you think it takes to implement this new? It takes your time, your staff's time.
At this point, we're probably averaging about 50% of our work week on this. Myself and my staff.
Interesting. Okay, cool. All right. Where do you want to go from here?
To bed. That's all I have on the accounting system unless anyone else has any questions. I'm going to move on to our discussion of the purchasing policies and the ordinance related to that. I have been working with Jane, who has been very busy, but still kind enough to make time for this, to rewrite the ordinance to support the purchasing policy that we've all reviewed and kind of agrees a good step forward. I unfortunately only looked at it today. She sent it over late last night. So I do have paper copies if people want to take one and pass them around to review. Now the proper procedure as far as getting this ordinance changed would be, I'm passing them, would be to have the Board of Selectmen vote to do so, and then it would go directly to town meeting. But given that this is so heavily related to the financial aspects of the town, I would appreciate the Board of Finance's input.
Thank you.
I'm intrigued by your exceptions. Certainly, seems to me if anybody in town hall needs dental work, it should be done quickly. Why is medical and dental? We don't bid out if we were to seek different contracts?
We do bid out. We do not go out to RFP. That is where that exception stands. Those expenses are significantly over that $25,000 limit for the year. But we do bid them out. Similar to how you've handled auditors in the past. You call, you ask what the cost would be at multiple places, but we're not putting it out in the newspaper that we're searching for a new dental insurance provider.
Why not?
We have a consultant who actually handles that process for us, who's more familiar with the industry.
I'm coming with that, but how about the consultant? Do you bid out the consultant?
No, we do not. At least we have not in a while. I'm not sure what the past practice was there.
Okay, I guess. And work on roads and bridges seems to be inconsistent with your infrastructure improvements. Exceptions, we do not seek bids on roads, work on roads and bridges.
We don't seek sealed bids, we still seek bids.
Yeah, so this whole exemption is not so much suggesting that, we can just go out and choose whoever we want for these things. we should still be reaching out to multiple providers when we are able. But it just eliminates kind of the more strenuous RFP process.
Okay. And it is your thought that the Board of Finance, while thinking about this, listening to this, should not be the board, and I have no problem with that, that actually agrees to this is a selectman obligation.
Yes.
And if selectmen are supportive, it goes to a town meeting.
It does.
This has to go to the town.
Yes.
Including purchases where the purchase of an item or service is required to match an existing installation or equipment. What does that mean?
So one example of this that I've come across in my career is like radio communications. So if an additional antenna needs to be purchased, rather than having to go through the whole RFP process for that, you need to get equipment that is in line with the existing system, otherwise it won't function properly.
What about a boiler? What about a generator?
Well, I think the argument there would be, can equipment from, let's say, another brand, like, will it function with the system? If it won't, that's what a true sole source is. Like, we can only get this widget because this is the only widget that will work in this whole scenario. Not work better, but work entirely.
My concern is just for something like that, if it's manipulated, you know what I mean? But we need a new generator, so we're just not gonna bid it out, we're just gonna pick one person to put in a generator or a boiler or whatever.
Yeah, no, I agree. I understand where you're coming from. To that end, a generator, as the example, you can bid out for installers still. I don't know a lot about how those systems work, but I would imagine, you know, Generac versus another brand, like, I think installing a different brand would still function. So this is really about like making parts of your system entirely obsolete because you went in a different direction.
Anne Marie, what was the basis for putting that whole paragraph in to exempt? In putting this together, I reviewed a lot of ordinances from surrounding towns. A lot of these you just don't hear about bidding. I actually, when I first sent this over to Jane, she kind of laughed because, like, for lawyers, it's just not generally something that's done, at least not in the formal RFP process. The point I keep referencing is auditors, for example. You should go out every, you know, so many, usually 6 years, to see what other options are out there for your auditors. But you're not necessarily going to put out an RFP for that. You're going to call, you know, known professional firms and say, like, you know, what would you cost us? Really, this whole paragraph is not about, you know, trying to just say, well, I like this one, I'm just going to go with this one. It's more about not having to spend additional money putting notices in the paper, spending additional, you know, employees' time putting together RFPs. But would the inclusion of this paragraph on exempting from advertising and sealed bids, would that lend or incline the purchasing of services and goods and whatever to a sort of patronage system or a good old boy system, or a less than, would it affect in the long run the finances of the town?
So the big thing about this is based on our purchasing policy that exists, that will exist outside of this document here. We are still requiring people to submit to us proof that they went out to multiple providers and got different quotes. If they're not going to choose the lowest quote, they need to have a very justifiable reason why. They need to essentially prove that whoever they did get that lowest quote from is not a responsible bidder.
looking at this, and I have to take some time to digest it, it feels like everything in paragraph 2 is negated by paragraph 3. You know, this is our process here. We're going to do this. We're going to out to bid. It's going to be sealed bids. However, if you're 11 out of the 12 areas for bidding, you don't have to follow those rules. So it almost defeats the purpose of the ordinance.
We do purchase a significant amount of items outside of that exemption list. It includes very few goods, and I would argue that probably the majority of our expenses that are that large are spent on goods.
What I'm suggesting is you may want to rethink your exemption process and not be exempting so many things. Exemption should be an exemption. Here it's everybody's exempted, except the people who are following a purchase policy, which is something else. It doesn't feel clear to me. If I were a regular person running some sort of a company that's going to make a service and I went to look at your ordinances, I'm not sure I'd know what I was supposed to do and what I was covered by. I mean, who are the ordinances for? Are they for us to understand what we're doing in our government roles, or is this for somebody?
This is for us to understand.
This is for us.
Yes.
That's
This
the
is for our
purpose.
employees who are spending the town's funds.
Okay. So might you want to consider simplifying it in a way that connects it then to your purchasing policy and procedure, so you can understand the interplay between the two?
I would argue that it does do that. I'm not quite sure if you feel that the list of exemptions is too long, or if you feel it's contradicting the purchasing policy.
Some combination of both. It doesn't feel clear to me. I don't know what we're doing with this, to be quite candid.
The entire thing or the exemption section?
The exemption.
Primarily the exemption, but what we're trying to say, what are our rules around securing goods and services over $5,000? So that's what we're talking about, is the first part.
Yeah.
And then the next part says, however, we don't have to do that for 90% of what we're doing. Or can we clarify that a bit more? Am I the only one confused with this, or how are
I
you?
think, and that when it says exemption from advertising and sealed bids, it still means you have to go out and seek 3 people or 2 people or whatever it is, the policy says, to get quotes. You just don't have to have a sealed bid and advertise. For example, if we were gonna go get bids for a new lawyer, lawyers aren't gonna write sealed bids, and we're not gonna advertise for it.
Why wouldn't you advertise for it? Wouldn't that give you a
Well,
better
you
field to
could,
pick
but
from?
you're not required to necessarily.
Professional services in particular, it is rare that a lawyer, an accountant, an engineering firm, they don't need the business so badly that they're looking up advertisements for contracts with towns.
Right.
So when I think about our engineering firm or anybody that we have on retainer to use in a large swath of services, our procurement of them would go through this policy first. Let's say, I'm making up an example, we were going to get a new engineering firm.
Sure.
So we would go through this process first.
So this is not a process. That's kind of the important thing. The last sentence of this paragraph, everything shall still be procured in alignment with our purchasing policies and procedures. So to Jackie's point, we would still be requiring, if we're going to spend north of $25,000 on engineering services for the year, we would still want at least 3 or more quotes. But we wouldn't have to put an advertisement in the newspaper. We wouldn't have to create an RFP.
Which is when all your other forms come into play.
Right.
Right.
So I'm wondering if we just add a sentence to that that says, still, these services still are required to seek proposal. Or, I guess the word is proposal. It's just not a sealed.
Yeah, just
Would
want
that
to clarify
clarify
the
it?
sentence, is that what you're looking for, Catherine?
I think that would help. I think that whole section should be rewritten to simplify what it's saying.
Some of these items are pretty big items, work on roads and bridges and engineering services, architectural services, consulting services. It doesn't seem to be on the same level of expense. And to say that those larger projects which might have a larger scope shouldn't go out to bid or
But they are
shouldn't.
going out to bid.
They are, but they would not be advertised, so it would not, people throughout the state wouldn't know that Deep River is, I don't know, ripping up all our side roads and installing new roads. To me, it's sort of a confusing paragraph.
I mean, maybe to streamline it in language terms, you could say something along the lines, for professional services industries where the norm is non-use of an RFP process, they do not need to do advertising and sealed bids.
I think that leaves more open to interpretation, though. I'm hoping in listing so many specific situations on here to make it abundantly clear to me, my team, anyone who works here, exactly what falls under the umbrella of exemption.
So I can't rewrite it for you. I'm just giving feedback that it seems kind of complex.
It is complex, but purchasing is complex.
Following it doesn't seem clear. It isn't communicated in a way that I think it would be easy. It might be worth another go-round. I don't know that you could do it on the spot here, re-editing it.
No, I can't.
So I can't either. So, but my feedback is that, like, what the heck are we supposed to do with this, reading this? Or maybe you do training classes once you put it in, if you need this for legal reasons to be stated this way.
Well, the Board of Selectmen is going to have to further discuss this anyway, so we can move it to a town meeting, so.
Is there more detailed procedures under this?
The purchasing policy exists separate from the ordinance. I included that in my email.
Okay. So this is just the ordinance that the town would bring?
Correct. I can't institute the purchasing policy as it stands without making updates to this ordinance.
Oh, that makes sense. It has to be approved by the...
So the ordinance we have now for this, how much change? Do we have the original?
I don't have the original here, but it is a very simple ordinance. The last paragraph essentially exists with it, and the only reference is a $5,000 threshold, and anything above that, in theory, is supposed to be advertised and put out.
So like last meeting, Dwayne's example for plowing snow up at Valley, that would be put out to bid.
Yes, that would not fall under any of these exemptions.
Well, good effort, thank you.
A tiny comment on the purchasing policy. I have time to go over it again. Is this finalized at this point, or do you want?
No, it is not final. It can't be finalized until the ordinance is updated.
Okay. Just very minor on page 2. It's Board of Selectmen. And a general question under your Federal Uniform Guidance Procurement Standards. Was there any thought of using state versus federal? And is there a need for us to consider any of the state requirements in structuring this policy?
I actually find that the state statute is not very specific when it comes to town purchasing. So, Jane and I had actually started to speak about that yesterday, but unfortunately we didn't finish that conversation. But I can look into it further.
And then I'm just thinking of this as we use this and as it gets evolved. do we have to, we have a number of ongoing contracts with people. Would we need to review them all once we put this in place to see if they're in accordance with this? That becomes, I think, a major activity then.
I would say no. I would think this would apply to any contracts entered into once it is implemented.
And then with other contracts, would we then have a policy that they're reviewed X period of time? I'm I'm thinking some of our contracts may not actually meet some of these things, including the conflict of interest area. So how do we look over those? Do we need to add something here where there's something is done annually, is reviewed annually? Current contracts are reviewed on X time basis. Do we need to add that?
We certainly can. I would want to kind of make the language encompassing to say that, prior to expiration, contracts will be reviewed before a new one is issued.
But I think in some of our practices now, we've got some that do not have an expiration date or that haven't been put out to bid, I don't know, 2-3 years' time. So that's my question. Do we now, along with this, need a policy that there is annual bidding process? Or how do we clean up some of the things we have now that don't fit with
Best
this?
practices. Be good to clean them up.
It would be good to clean them up. I don't know that I would necessarily want to put something like that into the purchasing policies and procedures. I think maybe that should just be my concern is to put something like saying, on an annual basis, we're going to review all contracts, including those that aren't necessarily up for renewal, would put a significant burden on the staff here, who are already rather burdened.
I don't know that it would have to be all contracts on an annual basis. Depends on, there should be somewhere we should have some policy that contracts have a beginning and an end, and at the end they just don't roll over ad infinitum, as I think some do, and it varies by department. Many with very good intentions, but it just would be good to clean that up. So I don't know where we put that. I don't know where you would want to put that.
No, I don't either, but I like the idea.
I do
Because
too.
we've talked about it. Wait, I think we've talked about that. Just
One of the
because,
things, I don't think what we're talking about, there's contracts.
Maybe there should be.
I think what I'm trying to read into what you're saying, Calvin, there's not any contracts now with no end date. There's services that are just provided with no contract.
And that conceptually would go away once we have this in place.
Correct.
But I guess there's a transition. What I'm suggesting then is there's some transition period. I think this is great moving forward, getting this thing in place. And then as it's implemented, it's looking over all the ones where there aren't contracts. That would, I think, go a long way for transparency. It would be terrific.
Yes.
That's something I guess, Carol, would fall in your corner.
and we've talked about it before, it's like,
Okay. Thank you.
With all that said, it seems to me that you guys have conversations to have. I don't know. Board of Finance, any thoughts that you wish to share? Or you're tolerant of sending off the selectmen and Anne Marie to work this out? I mean, it is important to what we do, since we do things with dollar signs, but it is, I'm not sure I want to bring it into our thing.
Do we need to vote on the purchasing policy as a Board of Finance, or
I don't think we do.
Just
do we?
selectmen do.
Just selectmen.
The purchasing policy, I believe, will fall under the Board of Finance, but we can't vote on it until
the ordinance is
in place.
So we will vote on the policy before the ordinance goes to the town?
No, after.
After, to make sure it is consistent with the ordinance. Okay. All right.
I would suggest when we present it at the town meeting, that talk about the two to explain how they're going to work hand in hand.
Yeah, absolutely, especially because the ordinance makes direct mention to the purchasing policies and procedures.
And do you have expectation when this is going to happen? Are you in January? Do you expect to take this to a town meeting?
I do, or, yeah, if we can get it done sooner. It would be great, maybe take the 38,000 in that ordinance at the same time. Oh, we have to go to a town meeting with a couple of things.
Okay. Board of Finance, thoughts?
I wonder if for the ordinance, if we just had talking points and explain it in more detail maybe, because if there was that many questions here, when it goes to a town meeting, I'm afraid there's gonna be more, so maybe something that,
Yes, I am very prepared for
Okay.
a lot of questions. I hope there will be questions. It's good to ask them. And I want to assure people, we're not trying to get away with something here.
No, this is much more thorough than what we have now, so this is what's needed for sure.
What we have now is just services, right?
oh, we have an ordinance actually from 1980.
Yeah, it was in 1980.
Yeah, I
I actually thought it was before that.
It's one paragraph from 1980.
Yes, but I realized in reviewing it more thoroughly to start rewriting it, it really only references services. It doesn't reference goods at all.
Yeah. We found that with a lot of our ordinances, so we have like transfer station committee working on ordinance, and just, they all need to be updated. They're very,
Hypothetically speaking, there's an emergency.
Yes.
What do we do?
That is specifically addressed in here. The requirement of competitive bidding, advertising, and sealed bidding shall not apply to emergency work as so classified by a majority vote of the Board of Selectmen or to purchases made through the state of Connecticut or public sector purchasing cooperative.
So for instance, last week, I think Adam and our building inspector made an executive decision, which was a very good one, to go out and get the fencing.
Yes.
So just want to make sure that we're good on that.
See, I'm wondering if we should add something to there, because in that case, we didn't get together and vote. So that's a
what
true
I'm saying,
emergency.
But that's.
well, they spoke to
have-
me about it, and
yeah.
I okayed it, but you're
In those
right.
circumstances, there has to be leeway to be able to
Yeah,
do something like that.
Right, so does this needs a little more flexibility, you think?
Well, I mean, the same thing with, when we had the problem downstairs, and we had to get service clean in there. You had to do it. We don't have time to go out and bid it and this and that. So there has to be some flexibility on some of these things, I believe.
Well, rather than making it a majority vote of the Board of Selectmen, we could just give the power to the first selectman to classify something as an emergency.
Well, I did act in the emergency when
Yep.
you called me from the fire and said, we have to put up a fence.
Yeah.
Building inspector, because people were entering a unknown scene at that point. We didn't know it was a crime scene or whatever. No one knew what happened.
I just don't want to see us get pigeonholed where there is an emergency and we didn't follow the policy or the procedure. Because sometimes you can't, and that should fall back on the captain of the ship.
That's certainly a rewrite I can do.
Excellent. So, anything else you wish to chat about, Anne Marie?
I am all set, thank you.
You are all set on your chatting. Thank you. Let us take a moment and discuss that the town did in a referendum approve both building of a new firehouse and the purchase of 2 new fire trucks. Now, I do not know if anyone else has expressed but all of you should be complimented and thanked. If it hadn't been for your willingness to do this, this would not have made it onto that referendum. And as much as I enjoyed working with you and others, I'm not sure the Board of Finance would have had the courage to go forward with a new fire truck or new fire engines without the referendum from the town. So you all have courage, and I think the fire department's occasional nudge was also of help to us. So with that in mind, I was taken aback, if you're tolerant of witty phrases, with the magnitude of the support for this. Let's make a generalization. It was almost 2 to 1. It was actually 2 to 1 for the fire truck, pretty close to it. Was it 1,500 for yays on the firehouse against 11? I guess that's not quite 2 to 1, but it was overwhelming. So I do not know how to interpret that, but it is overwhelming. And I shall now add, and I'm going to ask Carol, Tom, and Anne Marie to jump in. We have been doing things since that vote. We had a meeting today with the U.S. Department of Agriculture. All right? And anyone who wants to jump in, they shared a lot of information. We learned a lot of stuff. They're going to send us stuff. We're going to attempt to understand what they send us, but we will start a pre-application process soon. How about that for insight? And there is so much, there's a lot of things we have to get a better understanding of. But there's certainly, I left that, there is encouragement that we certainly qualify, and it seems like it may take a little longer than what I'd thought. But anyhow, we're doing that.
Qualify for what?
What's that?
You said we certainly qualify for
For
what?
the direct loan program that they have available. Our expectations that we qualify for it. We're the type of town that qualifies for it. It's a project that qualifies for it. So I have absolute faith that we will move forward in this. Does anyone have any questions on the process? And we'll probably get a vague answer, but we're learning more. We have, if you remember, if any of you came to any of the meetings, the U.S. Department of Agriculture will provide us a loan at the end of the project. We confirmed today that we will need a construction financing to build the project. Tom has at least acknowledged it, and will be chatting in his normal course of business with folks who hopefully will be willing to do that. I attended a meeting, I was invited to a meeting at the firehouse last Tuesday, Thursday. It's not important what day it was. They have a consultant that is helping them identify specific needs for both the engine and for the fire brush truck. We've called it brush truck. I think there's a desire to change the name on that. That is still ongoing, but I do not believe it is far off. I have talked with 3-4 leasing firms who seem awfully eager to offer us competitive bids for when we get closer to that project. If you promise, I'm trying to pick vague words. I do believe we can start the acquisition of the 2 trucks before the firehouse process gets underway. So I give you comfort that we are moving, and I give you comfort that there's things to do.
But could you clarify something you said just a few minutes ago about the governmental organization paying us back at the end of it? That means we need to secure private funding first, and then they reimburse it.
You have to get interim funding for the
Interim funding.
construction phase, and they won't do that.
Okay.
So that's why we have to go out and just see if.
So it is our
Makes it more
expectation,
difficult.
yes, we'll get Tommy's construction financing. Interest that we'll pay on that loan will become part of the borrowing.
Okay, thank you.
We do have ways to go on that. All right, does anyone have any questions? But we are moving on that one. I have nothing more to add unless you have questions. Let's move on to our budget review. If you remember in last month's minutes, I said, and Anne Marie did not disagree, that we would look at in more detail about the capital accounts and the police capital accounts. We are, neither Anne Marie nor I had the time to actually prepare that, so we will deal with that hopefully in January. With that in mind, let us jump. Does anyone have any specific questions before we start the budget conversation? I did not see a whole lot of things worthy of commenting, but we can, if anyone has any specifics. I'm going to stop. It is the, 5th month, so about 42% has been spent. If we spent things on a straight line, which we do not, leaving about 58%. So as a rule of thumb, if you see percent less than 58, I offer to you that you should take comfort, it's okay. With that caveat, Kara, would you comment on engineering services are surprisingly low in your budget? You have good reasons, and I want to put people on notice that we may need to revisit that in the future.
Yes. We've seem to have used more engineering services than we have in the past years up to this point. We have called them to look at the school. We have a drainage issue that the water gets into the kitchen over at the elementary school. And then Anne Marie noticed that when they did some work on the transfer station, which they presented to the new road, the new entrance, that was in the engineering services. And I think just the usual now, they're working in the Platwood Park. We seem to have an issue with the well. We have grant money to put in a new concession stand out there and bathrooms, but the well seems to be dry, drier than it had been previous. So they're trying to figure out if we can use the well or if we'll have to drill a new well. So those are all been hitting our engineering line more than other years.
Is your assumption that you will continue to use engineering services, and we may have to revisit that line?
We probably will have to revisit that line, yes. Because they also will help us do the RFP for the concessions and restrooms when we get to that stage. We have it all designed, we have it kind of picked out. It's going to be a already done restroom, like United Concrete or one of those. And so,
No, there's nothing in the budget for that work, correct?
well, it might come out of the grant.
They come out of a grant, it would not be grant. What grant is that?
It was the steep grant.
Yes, 2022, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay.
That also includes money for a new pavilion at Flatwood. That was all grant that we were awarded.
That is good.
Is the water there just for toilets, or do you need water for something else?
If we get a concession, we wanted to have, running water, so.
Gotcha. Okay.
So then we
I was
have
just
to have
thinking
that.
about the green toilets like they have in Essex Park versus to get a new well. But
And we have a grant. You are going on December 6th to tidy up the roof grant, correct? Is that one of the things on the agenda?
Yes, so on a town meeting on the 2nd of December, we have to do the final resolution so that we can accept final payment from the state. So that's on the agenda for that town meeting. As well as the properties for sale. We're going to put that back out there to the residents to see if they want us to move forward to sell the properties. There are two properties that are 6B and 6B1, I believe, two vacant properties out at Platwood Industrial Park on Mislick Drive. And then we just have some appointments or the other things on that agenda. Legal notice to be appointments to planning and zoning board of appeals and CHC. Jackie's on
All right, I'm going to move to elections and only stop for a moment. Tom started the conversation saying that he has, with others, signed checks for folks who worked during the election. So I was thinking 57% left in the elections. I'm going to hold that phrase back. Payments for the elections have not gone out. This does not fully reflect the election costs.
It does.
Yeah?
It does reflect it.
Okay. I was thinking what a good job of budgeting we did, but we will revisit that comment. All right. And town hall operations, Carol has already talked about going to a meeting for the transfer of the money for the base. Reimburse the town buildings for the reimbursement. Let's see if there's anything else worthy of calling out. Anne Marie assures me, I'm down to special services, Anne Marie assures me that payroll asked us to pay them monthly. They charge our account, so we are paying them. It just has not been fully reflected in the budget yet. Copier expenses, 47 seems a tad low. That may be back. But other than that, I see nothing in special services. it's worthy of catching. And Marie, do you have anything that you wish to share on any of these things? Anything exciting you wish to share? No?
Exciting? No.
Copier services is pretty exciting. See
Can
how
I
I'm
ask on
keeping up
this,
the momentum?
on the tree warden? It doesn't seem like we're spending, am I reading this right? It's percent left, so we shouldn't have 100% left.
He's paid through accounts payable, and we usually don't pay him until, I think, either the winter or the spring.
Okay. And back to the tax collector, that computer maintenance services, that payment comes,
That usually goes out in the spring.
okay, all right, thank you.
Mhm.
Does the tree warden get a stipend? I thought he got paid as he gets called on to visit sites.
I'll have to go back and double check exactly how he got paid out last time. I thought it was the flat rate, but I could be wrong.
It's a flat rate.
I thought it was.
Is that
Planning and zoning seems to be spending engineering fees.
Go back to animal
Okay.
control.
Flat rate.
We've spent almost all the money.
Oh, he turned
That goes out once a year.
pay thing.
Oh, it does, okay.
That's our agreement with Essex.
Okay, so we just pay once.
Yeah, maybe it's just mileage.
The planning and zoning doesn't seem to be spending all their money. There's so many things sitting there
I was
unspent.
thinking they were spending their,
I thought so too, but you know, the clerical salary isn't spent, the engineering services isn't spent.
They're,
they didn't
What am I
spend
looking at?
engineering last year. I'm surprised, so they must have
Online,
applications,
you know,
right?
they've got like 4 or 5 categories they haven't touched.
their clerical folks are not very timely about submitting timesheets. I usually get them twice a year.
Oh, right, yeah. But they're engineering, I thought we said they used some. So maybe I coded it into my engineering.
I could take a look at that.
That could be good then.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be good.
No, they have not spent their online permitting license of $15,000.
Have not.
That I assume is seasonal, whatever the date is.
Yes.
But is that connected with what's going on at River Cog, Carol?
No,
Or
River
is that a
Cog
separate
is a
one?
little different. That doesn't like archive or something. It's very
Okay.
limited to what they can do. We've tried to compare them, and this one
We
is,
still need this, okay.
this one's a lot better.
All right, the big one, of course, is building inspector. He's overspent already.
Mm.
Much of that is due to his work at the school for Mole.
But that all comes back to us, does it not?
If you look down in revenues, the school has paid us, Anne Marie, correct me, about $90-some thousand.
Well, the school and just general building.
Well, I thought the school was
That's
for 90.
everything.
There's other general, I said 92. I didn't think he did that much. Okay, but certainly, now you correct me, Anne Marie, he will certainly overspend his budget. He will continue to overspend his budget, but the revenues he's bringing in, do you think he will be even, or there will be a positive from his revenue?
At this point, it's hard to say. You know, some of his Region 4 stuff is wrapping up. It really just depends on how much building goes on in the spring. But he certainly will not be, his expenses will not be exceeding his revenues.
They will not, okay, that's his expenses will not. He will continue to overspend, so revenues we will see continue to grow negative. But when you offset it with his revenues, he should be positive, he should be okay. Excellent, okay. He's also doing, is the security
I believe he's
ramp,
involved in
he's
that.
working on that?
He's working on it. I think they're waiting for state approval or something for their
Right.
deadline.
All right, let's see if we have anything, anyone else? Let's see. Let's pause as we always do with the police protection. I continue to be amazed at how little is being spent, either the part-time officer or the full-time officer, but Carol has addressed that, and fortunately, we will begin to spend money again. Is that, that's the solution?
Yes, we did, the Board of Selectmen, we told them we want them to patrol more, so they're gonna try to pick that back up.
That's good, I guess. Good. All right. The fire department seems to be spending very little, other than they spent building supplies. I bet you that's they buy once or twice a year, so that's probably deceiving. All right. Let's see. Park and Rec. And let's look at the highway department. And we'll look at general road highway maintenance. This is Dwayne's question. We have two lines for highway maintenance paid for by the town revenues, town collection, and town aid road, which matches what the state will give us. We have spent 94, 95 out of the first one. Much of that was to deal with Oak Ridge, of which we've put money into capital, and this is where Anne Marie takes comfort that she can handle any needs the town crew needs, correct? We do not have to be alarmed at that, all right? And Anne Marie also, well, you have the right to take this back. There was a conversation earlier today. Recycling fees under waste removal is?
Yeah, some of the items that have hit in there should actually be hitting that bulky waste.
All right, that seemed awfully low for a major task. Excellent, good. Park and Rec, I've got. And the only other one I wish Carol to comment on, you have had conversations with the elementary school that they should not be spending their maintenance until what's going to happen?
Yeah, I asked them to hold off spending any of their money until we get a price to fix the drainage that's leaking and going into the kitchen. And they agreed that they could hold off with any of their capital, or not capital requests, but it was like the
Do you
piano.
feel comfortable that the 28, we used to carry 40, we cut it down. Do you feel comfortable that the work will be done with that power?
I don't know
Don't know.
yet. The engineer hasn't given me.
All right, let's look at revenues, which are worthy of a celebration. First one is property taxes. 42, 43 has left, which is good. In July, we collect half of property and all cars, so that seems to make sense. Property taxes in arrears is quite an impressive collection. People who did not pay, we budget 120. We've collected over 100 to date. We budget, what, 57,000 of interest. We've collected close to 40, so I think that is going very, very well. So we should take comfort there. The supplemental goes out any day now. I think they're saying mailing out the supplemental bills. We have budgeted 125. It usually comes in over that. Other than that, I have nothing. Of revenue, it's coming in well. Building permits, that's where I assume that's where we're putting Dick's work from the school, the 96 is up there. Okay.
Yes.
And once again, we should get compliments to Tom. We budgeted 55,000 for interest, and Tom to date has made it 113, so.
All right, Tom.
Rates are coming down. Just
Hey, Tom,
Enjoy it now.
Enjoy the ride.
all right, that is, I think that's worthy of our time. Anyone else have any questions or desires for more information? If not, the last item on our agenda, I'm not sure if Carol or Tom took the excitement away. Our meeting is scheduled, next meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, December 24th, sometimes referred to as Christmas Eve. I'm assuming that you do not have a desire to come into Christmas Eve, and I do not believe, if you look at the future, right now, we have major items to address. Unless there is some emergency, we would take December off, unless people wish to join together. All right.
I do have two more things. Sorry, I forgot. I kind of lost my notes earlier. So I just want to know, all the police cars have been marked.
Oh, great.
Is that a total of 5 cars?
4 cars have been marked. Yeah. And also the solar farm will be online. They anticipate in early December. First payment coming in January 1st. And they're reaching out to MA to have a direct deposit go in.
And that's going to be a payment of what?
It's about 43,000, but they're doing monthly payments.
They haven't reached out to me yet. I can talk through it, so.
So the monthly payments, but it'll be about 43,000 a year. Do you want to make a comment?
No, I just, we talked about with the selectmen, it's been one of my pet peeves here since we started this solar. I would like to see that money go to a separate line for future green or future energy or future something future for the town instead of just dumping it into the general fund. Just, maybe it's harder for Anne Marie and you, but I don't know, but the way I look at it, it's sort of a gift that we got here for the next 20 years.
So you're talking about the money from the
The
solar
money that we're
panels.
gonna generate from the solar. You know, I'd like to see something tangible down, that we can purchase down the road from that. Maybe, I don't know, just,
And you've said that from day one.
Yeah.
Could we put that on the things to talk about during the budget? My resistance to offering an immediate response is, we've assumed that's available to offset taxes.
Right, and the selectmen haven't really discussed it, it's just something
It's just something that-
Dwayne had thrown out.
I've said it before, like you said, Bud.
So we thought, because it's now a new thing, finally,
It's
the
real.
solar
We're
panels, so.
finally gonna get our money from them, so.
Is that a contractual dollar amount, or is it based on what they sell?
Well, it's
Prices
a
they charge?
contractual dollar amount per year, $43,000.
$43,000 for 20 years.
So it doesn't go on for 4 years.
No.
Does anyone have additional things they would like to chat about?
I have one question, Carol. Now that the cruisers are lettered up,
Mm-hmm.
initially you were told that several of the constables were gonna quit if that happens. Are we expecting any vacancies now that they're all lettered up?
I met with the guys last week, and everyone said that wasn't, they didn't anticipate that happening. We do have one officer who parks out here in the evening, he doesn't want to take the car home. But I was told probably all the rest will continue to take them home,
Shocking.
so, yeah, they look good. And we've had a lot of good positive feedback that they're all marked, so. So I'd like a motion to adjourn.
Go ahead.
Is that good? Okay, all those in favor?
Board of Finance, do we have a motion to adjourn? Thank you, all in favor? Thank you.
Thank you.